What's going on, guys? I'm Austin Mack, and welcome. Oh, jeez, I just burped. Welcome back to One More Minute Show, where each day I get 1 more minute to talk about whatever I want. And in today's video, it's a little different. We're actually gonna be talking about miniatures, and I'll explain that in just a second. But we're gonna talk about miniatures today. And the reason why this looks a little different, not as like normally professional, is this video is not supposed to be for today. I had a different video actually already edited and ready to be put out there, but I just wasn't a huge fan of it. I was watching it over again. I'm like, I want to redo this one. And so I have enough time to give you guys a brand new video. And the sort of setup is different. I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, it looks pretty nice for a YouTube video. But yes, today we're talking about miniatures. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna be walking around and grabbing stuff over the course of the video as I explain things. So if you don't know what a miniature is, which is, I don't know how you don't, it's a miniature object. And collecting these objects can either be for entertainment and collection purposes, whether you want to collect it for money or you just really like this product, or it might be for gaming purposes, whether you're playing a miniatures game that includes these figures or whatever. And so I'm a little bit into a lot of these practices, and it really, in my opinion, my love for miniatures started with one thing: Legos. Yes, I'll be getting up and grabbing stuff, but Legos was really my first love for miniatures. Just the aspect, I mean, I've always loved, I think any kid, any boy above the age of 21 has grown up with Legos or whatever throughout the years. And Legos really were always just this thing that I just loved to have. And I was always a person who had a higher imagination and loved to create scenes and stuff like that. And the Legos that I did have, which I think I had a pretty good amount. Nowadays, oh my gosh, I love having adult money and like stuff like that, and having Legos. But I would always create little scenes and little fights. Even if I didn't have the Legos that I wanted, I'd be able to like power balance them somehow. I don't know. I don't know if I was doing correct power balancing as like a 5-year-old, but I don't know. I mean, Indiana Jones would beat out a clone trooper 9 times out of 10, in my opinion. But who's to say? Who's to say? But yes, this is still obviously a thing that carries with me to today. I mean, I have Spider-Man sets over there. I've got an I've got 2 AT-ETs. I have a LATAT downstairs and also on my shelf, a Y-Wing, all that sort of stuff. And I've always just loved Legos. I think the advent of being able to have these complex characters placed into a little Lego guy shape. And also recently, I just really love how these clone troopers look. I mean, they're my favorite character or favorite Lego types to collect. I have 501st troopers. I have the Coruscant Guard troopers. I can remember the name of the troopers, but I have Mace Windu's brigade as well. And I know there's a lot more to come and that have come before me that I'm trying to collect. Personally, I'm a big fan of the 501st. I think it just looks awesome. I've also been trying to collect more of the Ahsoka 331 troopers. I think that's the division that they're in. But yes, that's where I can really drive, where I'm like, this is where my love for miniatures has really come through. And also half of that is also where my love for miniatures comes from, is train sets. When I was growing up, I always had a train set that I could go and access over the years, and I was at my grandmother's place. And I was up in the attic, and it was this large train set, and it had 1, 2, 3, 4 train sets. Right? Am I losing it? 5 train sets, I think, 4 or 5. I actually own one of them now, which is really cool, and I want to build it and set it up and actually have a train table eventually for it. But yes, train sets were always one thing that I absolutely loved. And with that, I think also came with, there was a specific scene. This is why I love Superman. I'm going on a small tangent. But there's a specific scene, I think in Superman 2, and it's like old school Superman, where there's a train set that Lex Luthor destroys, like a big crack goes through it, and all little people are falling in. I vividly remember that scene, and growing up with the train set and seeing all the stuff run over the years, and now me owning some of those pieces. That and also Legos really got me into eventually collecting and wanting to have collectibles and miniatures. And so it wouldn't be until later on that I would personally kind of branch out a little more with these. Let's see. With these figures. So, Amiibo. The craziest thing that Nintendo's ever created. And one of my favorite miniatures, I think, ever. Going from back in the day, this was part of Wave 1, I believe. And currently, I think I'm only missing maybe 1 or 2 out of every single Smash Brothers Amiibo ever released. There's going to be a bigger video about this. This is more of just a glaze over everything. But to go from this to literally Piranha Plant, and these figures are very, very well made for mass-produced figures. I mean, just great figures to own, but also great figures to use. I mentioned at the start of the video where some of these are for gaming, and that doesn't just mean tabletop gaming. That also means with Amiibos, certain games can use these, including Smash Brothers. And Smash Brothers, you're allowed to use these Amiibo to then train a specialized fighter that'll then fight based on how you train it and what you give it. And it's one of the coolest systems I think any Toys to Life game has ever come up with. And I've collected some other Toys to Life games like Skylanders, a little bit Disney Infinity. I wish I got more into Lego Dimensions before that got discontinued, because I feel like that was right up my alley. I just like side-eyed it and then it went away. I wish it was around more. It was a really cool product. Lego Dimensions was basically putting this and this and like going like this, and basically that was Lego Dimensions. But yes, Amiibos. My love for Amiibos goes deep, and it was really my first ever my own personal collection. When it comes to collecting items, this is not a rare thing in my family. I think I have multiple family members, whether it was my grandmother who collected little angels, my grandfather, my dad collecting nutcrackers. And yes, actual nutcrackers, not like the ones you buy from Home Goods, actual nutcrackers. And this is kind of my first real love for a collection. And each one of these are named, has been inputted into my console, has their own personality and way they fight. While not all of them are leveled up to max level, a lot of them have a lot of love in them. And I think it's kind of neat to have a collection of items that are not just stagnant pieces of plastic that look really cool, but also stagnant pieces of plastic that actually have something in them. They have data, they have something that can fight literally within them. And it's an odd thing, but also a really neat thing. Now, it wouldn't be till later that I would start collecting other miniatures. There was a game that I found out about, I think it was pre-COVID. Collecting Amiibos happened like a while ago, like during my years in California. But while pre-COVID and during COVID, I started collecting a new thing called X-Wing miniatures. And that's a game that I've only played a couple times, but I just love their miniatures. And this is just one example. They have everything from an X-Wing to a TIE Fighter to the Millennium Falcon to the Razor Crest, all the way up to large ships like the Tantive 4, which was used in the beginning of A New Hope. And so basically X-Wing is a dogfighting game. It is actually the companion game, in my opinion, to Armada, which basically this ship would be the size of like, I don't know, a clone trooper helmet. That's the scale that it goes up to Armada, or Armada, a Star Destroyer would be like this big, and if it was an X-Wing scale, it would be like this big. You know what I'm talking about? Different types of scales, different types of miniatures. And so I started working on a small Armada collection when it comes to like that stuff. But X-Wing, I have a pretty large collection. I have a dozen or so X-Wings and TIE Fighters and stuff like that. And I do eventually want to play a game and record it and show you guys. I just have played it twice, and I mostly just collected these to see just how cool they are. Currently, they're in the box. I keep the boxes for storage reasons, for reasons like this, where I'm not able to display them currently, but I do want to be able to keep them nice enough. I take them out of the box. I'm not a collector who leaves all their stuff in the boxes. That's lame. But yes, X-Wing was the first ever tabletop game that I ever collected. And it wouldn't be until I was in college, I'm currently in college, that I would start this collection, Warhammer. And that name might strike a chord to certain people, and that game might be like, sounds familiar. Warhammer is probably the most popular and the most well-known tabletop game minus D&D. I would say it's a little different from D&D when it comes to the collection, as D&D, I mean, they have miniatures. It's just not something where it's like you have to have miniatures, you have to have all this stuff. When it comes to Warhammer, you kind of have to have these guys. And so, yes, when it comes to Warhammer, it's a very different hobby in general compared to X-Wing, compared to Amiibos, compared to Legos, as it requires far more input from the person buying it. Because you see this and you're like, wow, can I cover my face a little bit so it focuses? Can you guys see this guy? You're like, wow, that guy is a blue Space Marine. He has a pretty nice base. He has a big metal flamethrower. He has some cool pauldrons, even a little backpack, all that sort of stuff. You're thinking, it's pretty cool. But it isn't perfect. You know why it isn't perfect? Because I painted it. Yes, when it comes to Warhammer, you basically get a spool, which I have one right here. You get what they call a plastic spool. And in this is a bunch of different parts. This part is painted white for reasons. But yes, you get a spool of plastic. You clip these little pieces off, from shoulder pads to helmets to whatever those are. You basically get to make your own soldier. Now, I kind of just threw that over. There is a whole game behind it, and depending on what you put on your little guy, then actually changes the game. I think that's one of the coolest features about Warhammer, is that while this guy is a flame trooper, I might have let me see what I can grab. That's another flame trooper. Give me a second. I'm grabbing from a box of things right now. This is a Space Marine that has his gun holstered and has a chainsaw blade and a grenade ready to throw. That changes in the game. He plays differently from the flame troopers. And that's one of the coolest things, and it goes far beyond blue Space Marine guys. It goes to the Tyranids, the big bug people. It goes to the Necrons, basically space skeleton people. It goes to other races that I don't know all the lore behind. I think there's space dwarves. I'm not sure. But you see what I'm saying. When it comes to these games, it's really neat. You go from picking the parts and putting them together to being able to paint them. And yes, the painting process is some serious work. I mean, I'm not perfect, but that's pretty cool. And being able to customize them down to every detail. Now, you do have to stay within the parameters of the game most of the time if you're going to go and compete. I just love the classic blue Space Marines and the gold and the silvers and stuff like that. And it goes far beyond just miniatures that are palm size. You can fit a couple in my palm. It goes far beyond that into literal walking mechs, which are the coolest thing ever. And yes, some of these actually, is this the right one? Wrong one. Some of these actually are a little posable, like for this one instance. I didn't pose the other one. I just couldn't get it to sit. So I'm just gonna glue you down. You're gonna be stiff. That's stiff guy, and this is soft guy, I guess. But yes, you can actually pose this one, which is one of the coolest things ever. So certain ones have a little more usability, but this is a Dreadnought, Redemptor Dreadnought, and his weapon loadout is like a grabby hand with like a machine gun, I think, and a big plasma gun. And there's so much lore behind even just these characters, where if a Space Marine has lived long enough and fought hard enough and is able to be slightly recovered, they'll be put into this sarcophagus, locked in. Is this openable? I think I actually did glue that. You're supposed to be able to open this. Oh, okay. You can see there's a sarcophagus in there, and that's where the Space Marine lives, and he lives in torment. He sits there, and his rage fuels the rest of this machine, and he goes and fights stuff. And if you want to see these guys in action, the Space Marines video game actually has all this in the game, which is one of the coolest things ever. But it goes beyond that. I mean, there's also like regular old vehicles and tanks and stuff like that as well, which really cool. You can see how much I'm a nerd behind miniatures and stuff like that, but I think when it comes to this sort of stuff, it's just one more way of expression. I'm somebody who loves to be able to express themselves in different art, whether that's in film and TV art, which I think is the most like basic girl art currently available in my opinion. And then there's painting and miniature sculpting and creating and being able to do this sort of stuff. I've found a new love for paint and being able to change the color of things, I think is the best way to put it, I guess, when it comes to my work on 3D models and doing 3D printing, all the way down to small scale stuff like my Warhammer miniatures. These guys in particular are so just like individualistic. Even if I mess up on a paint job, well, I know that it's that guy because I messed up on that paint job. And I gave him a sword, I gave that guy a grenade, I gave this guy a flamethrower. And then certain guys have like there's a couple guys in my miniatures army that I try to either purposely or sometimes not purposely make them individualistic in their own ways. Like I have my gold leader and silver leader. Silver leader has like, if you see all these like kind of gold parts in this guy, all of it's silver. There's no gold on him whatsoever. It's only silver. So he's silver leader. And there's gold leader who has gold everything. Gold gun, gold mags, gold parts of his pauldron, all that sort of stuff. So he's individual, and I would love to be able to actually play Warhammer sometime and be able to roll the dice against somebody and be like, there's Gold Leader, he's popping off, he's doing good. Being able to create stories behind these characters between games and doing that sort of stuff, I think sounds so neat to me. And it's far beyond. I mean, some people joke and laugh about the miniatures hobby and the nerds that are behind it. And while I can't defend all of that, I've definitely been in contact with people who are, let's say a little obsessive with the game. And while maybe they don't have the best social skills, I can definitely connect with them on a level of being able to just obsess over these really neat objects. And you can be as cynical as you want for this video, whether it's like, well, you're just buying into a multi-million-dollar capitalist society and you're paying for things that aren't even created properly. You have to do all the manual work, even though there are tens of dollars. You have to buy the paint and the clippers, and you're paying for Nintendo products. You're a show for Nintendo. If you want to be that cynical about life, I guess, go ahead. The one thing that I've definitely seen is I want to try to spread more positivity and being more happy about stuff. There's a lot of just bad negativity stuff on YouTube right now, and I've mentioned that both on this channel and the other one. But I think expressing and being able to show that I love these literal plastic items that will be in a giant dumpster fire hundreds of years from now, where none of this will be biodegradable, and that will be probably dealing with global warming. But that's my great grandkids' problem. I get to collect all the Legos I want now. And if they're watching this, is YouTube still around? If you're watching this, that's actually insane. That's also looking into that. I haven't gone full like crazy thinking about this, but I have thought about it a little bit, and it scared me a little too much to think about. But like the aspect of like, if this channel stays up after the 365 days, and I'm not gonna say it's all gonna be unlisted or anything, but let's say years from now, if I don't know if YouTube's still around or any of this other stuff or whatever, and I have kids or great grandkids, will they come and watch this video series of me talking about stuff? I think I would, if I had a family member or whatever that did this that wasn't around anymore, and I got to be able to watch them just do stuff. I think is one of the coolest things ever. I love family home videos, and this is kind of one of those things. And so, yeah, when it comes to all this stuff, while maybe I'm contributing to the giant heat death of Earth, I guess, it also is just a neat thing to have and collect. I mean, your time on Earth is fleeting, and it's never really 100% what's going to be happening next time or tomorrow. But you can at least spend a little bit of money on a scale model of the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. Was this always so shiny? You can actually see myself in this. That's funny. Look, I'm getting a Twitch notification from Relu Live. It's actually one of my favorite VTubers. She's coming back tonight, which I'll jump in a live stream in a little bit. Also, just want to say thank you guys so much for the support. I do plan on doing a 1-month update both on this channel and the other one, talking about analytics and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, please make sure to like and subscribe, as that video will be coming up soon. That video will be a little more like, okay, what are the goals that I wanted to reach? Where are we at for the channel? What sort of like the view to watch average time is? And if you haven't already, I do have a playlist with all of this month's videos in the description below. So each month will have their own playlist. Like, actually, I want to go back and see what happened during this month. I know this video happened this month. I just want to see where in the timeline is it and when did it happen. So you don't have to go on my YouTube channel and keep scrolling through potentially 365 videos. You can at least be like, okay, I think I remember it happening in July. Let's go back to July and see what happened. And it's also for me too, because sometimes I might want to reference my own material or talk about other stuff, and I might just not remember it. Yeah, also, I guess I should talk a little bit. Actually, no, tomorrow's video, I'll talk about the evolution of my backgrounds, including this one, which is a very important background. The gray, the two things, the gray as well as the W in particular, are very important parts of my channel. If you think gray and W are important, because I think so. And there's history behind this color, and there's history behind that W, and I'll explain that tomorrow as I go over a little bit of the history of my backgrounds as well as that. But yeah, if you have any sort of stuff you collect, whether it's miniatures or whether you're collecting Hot Wheels, which is something my dad used to collect until I opened all them up. Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, if you've collected anything in the past before, whether it's miniatures or if you have any sort of interest in any other type of RT type stuff, leave in the comment section down below. I want to hear about that. I want to be able to comment. And I've been trying to respond to comments. There's been so many comments to respond to over on the main channel. Recently, there's a video that's been blowing up, which is my Overwatch video. Kind of get us complaining about Season 14. Wasn't the best video in my opinion, but the algorithm sure did love it, and that's saying something. And so I got a lot of viewership from that video, and thank you all so much for that. But yeah, I've been responding to a lot of those comments. I think that video has over like 40 something comments. And some of it is constructive. Some of it is like, I'm probably gonna have to delete this because it says a few too many bad words. I'm not gonna lie. And I try to keep my comment section a little clean, at least while I can. And I've been pleasantly surprised to see how many people put their comments and decided to like not tear my entire opinion down, but like left their opinion out there for me and other people to see, which is kind of cool. It's a cool public square moment. But yeah, whether you guys love Legos or Amiibos, Warhammer, X-Wing, don't let other people tell you otherwise about what you want to buy and collect. I've tried not to let other people interrupt my collecting habits. But yeah, collect what you want to do. Collect what you want to have and do what you want to do. I like combine those sentences somehow. That's weird.